is the way that we advocate for Black representation and a focus on racial justice in geography-related fields. We do that advocacy behind the scenes with lots of organizations, and we also have done some consulting work in ways where we are able to drive the mission of our organization while supporting another organization advancing in their work. We participated in the state of Washington's Pro-Equity, Anti-Racism, Access and Belonging Initiative for instance. And this, what the Navigators, the people who I'm about to introduce, is a part of our telescope programming, where we are focused on celebrating impactful leaders in geo. And when we think of what's special about the folks who we say are our navigators, people who are aspiring for success and equity in the geo fields, they are striving to achieve something. They've got a passion that they are pursuing, and they're using geo practices to pursue that passion. They're tenacious. They are standing in the face sometimes of all the common challenges that we all face in any career, the particular challenges of learning tech and techniques in geography and geospatial related fields, but they're also disproportionately impacted by, imposter syndrome that is born out of experiences of exclusion and bias and underrepresentation. Being the only one who looks like them in their spaces tends to cause the environment around them to treat them differently, and they stand their ground. They've achieved notable things, and they are reinvesting back into their communities in some way. So last year, towards the end of the year, we announced that Josiah Burkett, Véronique Couttee-Jenkins, Dr. Dee Jordan, and Rayna Kamau are our Northstar Navigators. And I just want to share a little bit about them really quickly and then invite them to join me for a conversation about how the STAR principles applies to each of them. So Josiah is a senior GIS officer in St. Kitts Department of Global Health and Social Medicine. He holds a degree in geology. His passions involve climate change, sustainable development, and cutting-edge technology. He's a servant leader. He's on the board of directors for the Geospatial Professional Network that is formerly ERISA. Vero is the executive director of the Afrotech Fellowship. She has a master's degree in biodiversity, conservation, and policy from the Fulbright program. She's passionate about mentoring emerging STEAM leaders across Africa and conservation work in the Indian Ocean. She's been awarded the Women in Tech Advocacy Award in 2023. Like I said, she's a founder of Afrotech Fellowship. She's also a founder of the Geospatial Equity Tech uh, consultancy organization, and I'll let her talk more about that. She serves on boards like Amplify the Future, Key Conservation, and actually, I've never pronounced this before, Recon KT. Maybe she'll come on and correct me. Dr. Dee Jordan is an instructor in the Department of Global Health and Social Medicine at the Harvard School of Medicine. She has, from Michigan State University, she holds a dual PhD in health geography and environmental science and policy. From the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health, she has an MPH in global health and a graduate certificate in global infectious diseases. Her research involves spatial ecological determinants of disease risk for vector-borne parasitic diseases and neglected tropical diseases of sub-Saharan Africa and the tropics. She's a founder of the Advancing Geography Through Diversity program, and she's an executive committee member and a counselor of the American Geographical Society, among several other boards. Rayna Kamau is a geoequity community leader at Esri. She holds a degree in geomatics engineering from the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture. She's pursuing her PhD in information systems and technology from Claremont Graduate University. Her research in her PhD involves mitigating bias in GeoAI and large language models. She's a co-founder of Black Girls Map, which stands for Mapping in Action to Pioneer Progress. And she's a recipient of the 2021 AAG Diversity and Inclusion Award. This was formerly the AAG Enhancing Diversity Award. In a lot of ways, Josiah, Vero, Dr. Dee, and Rayna embody the spirit of why we do the work that we do in Northstar. They are, again, they're striving, they're standing their ground, they have achieved many things. They're just really great at reinvesting in their community. And I'm excited to welcome them to the stage to talk more about what the STAR principles mean in their world. So if I can get you all to join us on screen really quick, I'll share some questions and give everybody an opportunity to respond. Now, for whatever reason, I can't see if everybody's on, and they are on. That's good. I think Rayna's in the audience too. So Rayna, if you can join us. I thought there's Rayna. Give you a prompt. There we go. And everyone, you all can unmute and then follow the sort of rules of, of muting and unmuting as we're having conversation together. But yeah, I just wanted to welcome you all here and start with a question. What drives you? What are your passions and ambitions? You've shared some of this with me, but I want you all to share, and with our organization, I would love for you all to share this. Share what drives you. What are your passions and ambitions with our community today? Who wants to start?
I can go first. Hello, everyone. Josiah Burkett speaking. And what drives me, I would say, is I'm committed to see the geospatial industry positively impact my community, particularly those who share similar backgrounds or face similar challenges that I have faced, and individuals with a lot to contribute who may not yet see where they fit. The geospatial community has provided me with a solid foundation to learn and thrive as I advance in my career. And my vision is to see the field grow in my region, particularly driving resilience against climate change and addressing socioeconomic challenges. So ultimately fostering a more sustainable and inclusive future. But to summarize, as it relates to, GIS, that's what I would say drives me.
How about you, Rayna? What drives you?
Well, I'll say this. First of all, thank you for having us, Clinton. But I can say that, recently I've really been striving to ensure advancements in AI and in GeoAI, and having those technologies actually prioritize accountability, transparency, and equity. Because as someone who has been deeply rooted or invested in racial justice, we know that there's bias. We know that, the tech can perpetuate the bias. And so recently I've really been inspired by the work of Dr. Joy, who's done so much work on algorithmic bias, and Timnit. I think people know Timnit. She's actually a fellow East African, or her roots are from East Africa, but she's a pioneering researcher in AI ethics. And she's been paramount in kind of or being at the forefront of advancing accountability in artificial intelligence. And so that's what I've been striving for recently, is making sure that these technologies, especially within the geospatial realm, that there is an aspect in prioritization in accountability and transparency, because if not, these technologies will perpetuate that bias, right? And so I feel like that has been kind of a driving motivation, or something that I've been striving for in the past 2 years, is making sure or advancing these conversations within the geospatial realm, and making sure that women or Black women's voices are heard within this space as well. So that's what I would say would be what I'm striving for within our community.
And how about you, Vero?
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you, and I'm really excited to be on this panel with all these amazing navigators. And for me, like, what really drives me is giving and creating opportunities for the African community because I have often believed that I was brought up with a scarcity mindset that there's not enough jobs, there's not enough access to education, that these things are not easy to access, and that to get in the GIS or geospace, it's a very traditional path and that you have to follow. So for me, it's really about showing the power of geospatial technology to communities, but also giving them opportunities and access to resources and jobs to have careers in those spaces and in the STEAM field in general. Because what happens is a lot of women who even or people from the African community who pursues career in those or degree often quit very early because they feel like there's no job or there's no money coming into that space, especially if it's centered around community work or environmental work. They will tend to leave those career paths because they feel like there's no um, opportunities. But in reality, what there is there's a lack of access to global opportunities because I take a concrete example when there's a consultancy that needs to go out for any kind of GIS work in my home country, Mauritius. People tend to hire people from Europe to do it when there's a lot of brilliant professionals that exist locally that can actually do the work. So for me, it's bringing visibility to those women, but through my platform, but also vice versa, showing them what exists globally as opportunities is way bigger than they think. So there's no need to step on each other's toes because it's just a scarcity mindset that's been pushed onto us to believe that we can only succeed if we step on each other's toes. So for me, what keeps me going and what drives me is really the aspect of community building.
And Dr. Jordan, what are you striving for? What drives you?
Yeah, well, one, thanks. Always happy to show up for Northstar and always happy to be present on homecoming and GISA. Pardon my background. As you know, I have a group of HBCU students that are doing a geospatial tour and in New York City. We are here, and I had to depart from the tour for a little bit because it's equally as important as giving them exposure and opportunity. What space and spatial intelligence and location-based intelligence, what all that means, right? In very real ways, the ways they can impact justice and move the needle forward. For me personally, you know, it's very essential that we build out a professoriate that looks like the people we want in those positions that the other panelists have mentioned. So at the core of what I strive for with my program, the Advanced in Geography through Diversity, is providing graduate education, both master's and PhD geography education to U.S. citizen minorities and other people of color. Because if we do not build out an educated populace that looks like us, there won't be anyone to fill the job. The jobs are aspirational, and I thank my panelists for talking about those spaces in which we need to have representation, but we can't get there if we don't have the credentials. So for me, I'm at the beginning of this building, right? How do you get to the North Star? We have to start at the foundation, and foundationally it's through education, whether that be through the academic channels, as I've mentioned, or if it's through some trade programs or junior college programs, some certificate programs, some additional training to augment prior educational, prior working experience. I think it's super important for us to make that investment very early in educating this group, whereas we know that they're talented, but talent can be in a lot of different directions, right? If we want to harness the best and the brightest, then we have to start educating them on geo intelligence and and GIS and then geospatial and have a true geographic and spatial understanding. So for me, I strive to build a better educated, minority melanated community of GIS and geography scholars so they can fill these wonderful roles the other panelists have talked about.
That's powerful. And for my next question, I'm gonna stay with you, Dr. Jordan. What keeps you going when things get hard? You know, what keeps you going?
I've read a book that Black women must die tired, and I swear that's great. That is true in every sense of the way. But I will tell you, I am so grateful to not have to look very far for the shoulders that I stand on. Sure, there are people in the history books, but there are also people who live next door to me, people who went to church with me, people who went to grade school with me, people who are doing things that are powerful and they keep giving back. And because I stand on the shoulders of those who were before me, I don't have the right to get tired or exhausted. And I certainly do not have the right to quit. I can sit down, take a breather, refresh myself, renew myself, as we all should, because self-care is important. But as far as quitting, it's unthinkable because there are too many lives counting on me, especially in the day and age that we live in after what we just experienced just a few short weeks ago. If no one has their second wind about them, just take a look at what's coming out in the news and the media every day. That should be enough to ignite you. You know, I have a kid that's that's near the ages of most of the students that I'm, touring around and walking around. He is my Northstar. It is my promise to him that I'll leave the world better for him and those coming behind him than what I inherited. It should not be the generation that's coming behind us who are dealing with the throes of the problems and all of the exclusions and marginalizations and oppressions that we were. If we're doing our job and we're diligent about it, and we're saying we're gonna take space, not just make space, we're gonna take space and we're gonna own these territories and we're gonna fill them with these melanated bodies of brilliance, then we have to do just that. And in doing so, we will, in fact, map the world that we want to see, or we'll create a new one.
That's powerful. What keeps you going when things get hard, Josiah?
So for me, what keeps me going, I would say, is definitely my community, but more so my values. I think it's important that we remember to be ambitious and confident in our abilities. And I think I try to remind myself of that. Stop the self-sabotaging, or more importantly, remember that everyone has to contribute something in society. And you just need to focus on what is your contribution, not what someone else is doing, and believe that there is something that you can contribute. And that comes from focus. I believe if you focus on the right things, the strengths you have, and not the doubts you have, that enables you to keep going, even when it's hard, even when it's difficult, even when you're somewhat failing. You're learning. Your focus would be then a learning mindset rather than a failure mindset. So what keeps me going definitely is my values of being confident in my abilities to contribute and add value to any way and anything that I put or I'm involved in. And my community as well, seeing others excel and knowing that, hey, what I'm doing can inspire someone else.
How about you, Rayna? What keeps you going?
Well, I'd say my faith, right? Because like Dr. D said, as a Black woman here in the US, there's a stereotype that we always have to be strong. And the reality of that as a human being is that that's not sustainable. So I rely on my faith, but most of all, I think about my ancestors, right? So I've been in the US for 11 years now, right? So I come from a country where we had to fight for our freedom. And I think about our ancestors who got so much taken away from them and they still fought. They fought and they continued fighting for the independence of my country, right? The stories of my country really helped me in being tenacious or being able to remember that this is not, it's not just for today, right? And I think that is even put to a higher level now that I'm a mom raising the next generation. My passion and like my fire for making sure that the future is inclusive of that little girl that I'm raising is what keeps me motivated, right? And so just thinking about or looking at these systems that I have been now privy to in the 11 years I've been here in the US, and the potential to reshape these systems that have historically marginalized Black communities, keeps me going, right? Making sure or looking at the impact that these unchecked biases in AI and GeoAI, and you hear about predictive analytics, you can't have a fair system when you have all these unchecked biases. And I feel like I thrive, and I think I'm fighting to make sure that accountability and fairness is in these technologies. Just as a mom, as a Black woman, as a Black geographer, as a Black tech enthusiast, that's what kind of keeps me motivated in the face of challenges. Is it's not a now thing, it's something that we're building towards the future. And I want to kind of leave something for my daughter, for her to see what we have done to make sure that she has a space on this. She's in the space, or she's included in making these decisions that might influence other people's lives. So that's enough. That's what keeps me motivated.
I appreciate that. And how about you, Vero? What keeps you going when times get hard? You talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. It's a number thing, like, for the last 2 years being on this entrepreneurial journey. At the beginning, I was just on the go constantly. I started a consulting practice, and simultaneously within 6 months started a nonprofit program for women in my country. And that was a lot. And when I ended the second cohort with 20 fellows completing the program, I felt almost a bit hollow, not able to celebrate my success because I had done so much and I was already thinking about the next thing. And so I've actually taken the year to slow down and rethink about the future because the funding ended and we need more funding to do a third cohort. And at first, I was beating myself for not jumping back and trying to get more money to do a third cohort immediately and starting. And this year has actually been really beneficial because it's allowed me to dig deeper into the impact of the two prior cohort to tell our story of success. And amongst this journey, I've also taken a lot of time to just do a lot of reflection. And I have a Black girl coloring book with affirmations in it. So when I'm not feeling good, I color. And I needed to do something not for perfection because that's the challenge, right? I always felt like things had to be perfect. And I always, like, my therapist encouraged me to color outside the line if needed, which was very difficult for me to do. Lots of trying to focus on myself. And I have found it really hard to prioritize myself, my well-being, my physical well-being at the detriment of I need to do more work. But interestingly, by giving myself the chance to rest and letting others help me and letting others take on more responsibilities, I have seen beautiful thing emerge when I stepped out of that space from others' leadership. So on my team, there's the AfriTech Connect that emerged from my teammate Angel, who created this space to bring visibility. When we did the reporting, we also saw that 70% of our fellows out of 20 reported that thanks to AfriTech, they got a raise and a promotion. And, these are things I wouldn't have known if I hadn't taken the time to go find out these stories, but are so important to the kind of impact that we're trying to show we're having despite being a small organization. Because I could have done 100 hours of training with these fellows and not have any impact on their life and be all forgotten forevermore in their life. But they've all reported feeling a sense of safety and community in our space that they'd never had experienced before. And so for me, I'm really trying hard, and it's not easy to take a step back when I can. And that's really actually, it was Dr. Don Wright who said to me, "You got a long way to go, so you don't want to burn out all the way because there will be nothing left to give." And so I really appreciate her saying that to me because I think I needed to hear that from someone who had done so much because I felt I still had so much to do. Um, so I do have a check for that. So each time I start looking for PhD for extends or like fellowship, I ask myself, but why are you really looking for these things now at this point? Like, what is this? What are you trying to like achieve? Is this something that you need? Because I think I've had this constant fear that I'm not qualified enough to be doing the work that I'm currently doing. And it's my gut check to like rethink about why. And I can't really find the why. And like when I was trying to get my master's, which I had a solid why for. So yes, I will say overall my answer is a lot of self-reflection and trying to do self-care, even when it's really, really hard to do so.
Hey, Clinton, can I follow up on what Vero said about
Sure.
self-care? Yeah, so I was on this panel about self-care as resistance, and they were asking, we were talking to students, and they were like, what do what do you do to take care of yourself? Well, it was about self-care, and I was like, self-care is resistance. And like, this is my way to say to all the things in society, all the problems, everything that you're not going to win. I'm not going to let you claim this hole because this hole has work to do and there's much to be done. So what I was explaining to the young people is I created what's called my resiliency playlist, right? It's like, I don't know if, you all have a hype tape or a hype track or one that gets you going. Like, you feel unstoppable when you hear it, but instead of just one track, I was like, let me go on and have about 15 because the days are long and the fires are many. And so I created like this playlist that's like my resiliency playlist. And I was telling them about these songs. Like each song is intentional. It's not just all the songs from, that make me feel good when I was going to the club, because I don't anymore. But if there's specific songs that are feeding me, feeding my soul, there's the songs that say, no, get back, you're not on to me, or that this train has left the station, that I'm gonna keep on moving, and that this black butterfly has, a lot of souls are playing. There are all these songs that are about how amazing I am as a woman, as a human, as a Black woman, as a melanated scholar. There are these like the beats of them, everything get me going. And people started asking about this playlist. So I started sharing this playlist. I was telling people that, that's the playlist that feeds my soul, right? The playlist that feeds your soul may have some other beats, and maybe some calypso, maybe some Afro beats or other things. You have to find the songs that motivate you so that when I wake up in the morning while I'm getting dressed, instead of saying like, oh, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna win today. I'm gonna win today. And I go and I feel unstoppable. So it's like starting that mentality, right? So that's step one. The other thing I do all the time, and I was telling the students, it's amazing. Every time I travel for my job, I work internationally a lot, and it doesn't matter the plane I'm on, the aircraft, the carrier, or where I'm going. Oftentimes, melanated people are sitting in the back, and the first class is full of folks who don't look like me. So I made it a point to always upgrade myself to first class. I owe it to myself. I've worked hard to get to where I am, and I always sit, and I don't do, first class 5B or 5A. I have to do first class 1A. I need to be the first one you see when you get on there, just so you know that you're walking behind me. I'm sitting right here, and all of this right here is sitting right here. And that, when I started doing that, it started disrupting these cabins, and the cabins all look like, cane sugar. And then you got a little brown sugar sitting in 1A. Just so we're clear. Now, I did tell them what my credit card can do, your credit card might not do. But don't be coming from me talking about something. You've reached your limit because you started to sit in 1A. But treat yourself, even if it's not every trip. treat yourself. Sit in the first class cabin. Let them serve you. Be amongst those and let them see you up there, because until they start seeing us, they won't see us. And then I go to the spa. I'm telling you, the minute things get hard out in the street, I'm going to relieve myself. I'm paying somebody to pamper me. You know why? Because I spend so much pouring and pampering into everyone else. And oftentimes, we forget about ourselves. We're so busy giving unto the world. And I just take those moments, I reclaim my time and let the world give unto me. And I go and have me a couple of spa treatments and get rubbed up and down and sideways and come out feeling amazing. Like I can do a whole bunch of great things, but that's what powers me to keep on giving to the kids. You know what I mean? People say, oh, well, it's doom and gloom. It is. Life has been hard, but we don't hold the patent on life being hard. Life has been hard on a lot of folks a long time ago. What we have, though, is more options than they ever had. I don't think my grandmother and my great-grandmother, when they were in the fight for civil rights, had a spa, a possibility of first class. Hell, they couldn't even drive from Tennessee up to Howard without using the green book to make sure they weren't in sundown towns at the wrong time, just so we're clear. So I don't hold my head down. Though it is hard, I do not feel sorry. I am not victimized. I am more than a conqueror, and we can overcome a lot of things. Take good care of yourself. Treat yourself every time. Moisturize, hydrate, repeat. Take a day off. I will close my calendar on a Monday, just a random one. You know why? Because, and that's it, period. I will close my calendar on a Monday. Oh, there's a meeting that day. Not today. Dee Jordan needs her mental health to be in check so that she can help these babies move through the future. As a Northstar navigator, I cannot navigate people if I'm not completely intact. And I take my charge very seriously.
I promise y'all we have two more questions to ask, and I will get through them. And I've been trying not to like take up too much space here personally, but like there's a lot that obviously anyone who knows me knows there's a lot that all of you have shared that resonates strongly with me. But this notion of self-care and burnout is something that you know, in my 20s, I reached a point where I was burning out in my career. I mean, I was working I was working a 9 to 5, but I was working it from like 7 to midnight. Sometimes I'll be at the office, it's 2 a.m. and nobody's around, but I'm working on the thing I'm working on. And then this year in particular, when my sister was going through her illness, I found my little fire dimming down to almost nothing. And I could almost feel it about to go out. And, like I had these two teams at the time, and everybody's like asking me questions. They want things, they need help or whatever. And I've been trying to support them in every way I can. And I feel like I'm about to lose it. And then in that moment, I had this spark of inspiration of like, from a call I had with one of my friends, like, what is this fire? What is its purpose? And why is it going out? So like to the first point you sort of opened with, Dee, all of these systems, barriers, bias, all of them are actually trying to harm us. They don't want us to be well. They don't want us to be strong. And so resilience helps us to stave off what we're experiencing. And we don't always realize it. We don't always realize that we're in a threat response mode, but I was in this place where my light was dimming. And so I conceived it as a campfire. And that meant a bunch of things, but I'll say three things. One, well, what was going to fuel my fire? So like, what are the logs that I sort of put into my fire? Two, what's the oxygen that well, I guess I'll say four things. What's the oxygen that my fire needs to breathe to expand? And sometimes for me, that might be the music or whatever. What's the heat? Like, what am I passionate about that drives that catalyzes that flame and keeps it going and growing? And then the last thing is really like, what is the fire for? And if it's a campfire, is it just to serve me? And in that moment, it absolutely didn't feel like it was just to serve me, because my teams were in need and I was trying to be there for them. So learning how to, find the right fuel, the oxygen to breathe, and bring in my passion together to grow that flame, not just for myself, but to also support the folks around me was really important. And yeah, and after my sister passed, I did a talk on it. And I would love to do more of that. But I wanna go back to Pharaoh, and ask you the next question. Just real quick, if everybody can just real quick share something that they're proud of accomplishing. And then the last question is, how do you reinvest? How are you reinvesting in the community? So what are you proud of? Just one thing.
Yeah, it's definitely the Afrotech community, and there's the 20 fellows that completed the program, but what each of them have gone on to like accomplishing thanks to having a supporting community. And it's not all thanks to the Afrotech. They were already amazing, but they were given a space to be supported through like recommendation letters and seeing them get, we have a fellow who's doing a master's in Ireland at the moment. Angel on my team, who was also a fellow, went for the Mandela Washington Fellowship in the United States. And we have other fellows that are getting Fulbright scholarship. So seeing these women who were already amazing become like on the path achieving their goals has been extremely fulfilling. And I will answer the second part of the question is I want more fellows. I want more women to go through the program. I want the communities to grow bigger and bigger, so much that I will bump into fellows one day and I won't be part of it. And I'll hear that they, like a bit like you were telling me, they'll tell me that they have you heard of the Afritech program? And that will be when I felt like this is it. I've accomplished what I that needed to be. That's the kind of impact when it goes beyond my eyesight.
How about you, Josiah? What have you achieved that you're proud of? Just one thing, and how are you reinvesting in community?
So, I believe one of the things I've achieved that I'm really proud of is being a leader in one of the best communities, which is the geospatial communities. I'm a geologist by degree, and I started my career there, but it didn't feel like a community. It just felt very competitive. Who knows more than who? But when I got into GIS, it felt like it's more about, what can you contribute, and being selected to be on the board of directors of the Geospatial Professional Network, formerly RISA. That was a major accomplishment for me. Not only just for me, I believe it was being an example to others to show them, hey, these are things that are within your reach. You can get in these communities, you can be selected. And many persons within the Caribbean has reached out to me like, how did you get there? Like, it was shocking to them to see someone who looks like them or from our region be within a space so large and has so much impact. So that's a major accomplishment that I'm proud of. And how do I give back? Is by sharing my experiences, even coming on spaces like this, and my knowledge and my skills. I think contributing, I really believe in contribution, like adding value, sometimes whether it's free of cost, maybe paid, going on different platforms and telling your story. I believe that's a great way to reinvest, and that's what I do. I like to give motivational talks or presentation on topics that I have experience with, and help foster development and others in the industry, particularly in my region. So that's one of the ways that I've been giving back.
And how about you, Dr. Jordan?
Yeah. So, well, for me, I'm the happiest about going from beneficiary to benefactor. And by that, I mean, I've been a recipient of a number of fellowships and programs and, that helped me along the way. And those have been fantastic, and they've really opened the doors of my career and helped me chart my own course. But to develop my own program, right? To be a doctoral student saying that there is a need that's not being met, and we are persistently underrepresented, and people to say, well, you should wait until you become Dr. Jordan to do it. And I was like, well, why so? Why do I have to wait when the fierce urgency of now is upon me? And if I have the time, I mean, I can chew bubble gum and walk at the same time. So if I have time and I have the desire to build something, I'm going to create it now. And that's exactly what I did while a doctoral student here at the Advanced Geography University program, in which I have already, graduated eight PhDs, fully paid, recruited from recruitment to graduation, showed up for everybody, hood everybody. I have only been a doctor for the past 4 years myself, yet I got 8 accolades out in these streets, looking like me, giving out that good Black brilliance in these geography and spatial technology, locations around the world, not just in some parts, but in a whole bunch of sectors around the country. And you know what they do? They tell people about the program. They tell others, like, you should talk to Dee Jordan. And they were like, well, but I talked to other people. And they were like, no, you ain't talking to a person like Dee Jordan, because if she says it's going to happen, she's going to make it happen. There is no place on the atlas I can reach them and make things happen. So not only are the doctoral students, a huge part of why I'm excited, because they're building out the professoriate, and that young Black girls and boys will come to these geography programs in the future and won't have to turn over rocks or go to other departments or go to other majors looking for somebody who looks like them, that they'll be right in those departments with them. But I also graduated 3 master students as well who are ready to go right into industry, straight from their program right into industry, to fill those roles that the panelists have talked about today. And to me, there is nothing like building that type of legacy. You know what I mean? It's like the type of energy. When I first met Clinton, we just knew this was the thing. I don't know if you guys had that feeling when you met him, but when you see a Black man talking about Northstar, and I'm like, is this a Harriet Tubman's kinfolk? Is this that moment right here? And when they ask you, you're like, always yes. It doesn't matter where I am, what I'm doing. Whenever Clint says, hey, could you? It's always and forever will be an absolute yes, because I've never known anyone more dedicated to furthering our community. And because we're coming at it from 2 different angles, one from the education, give them in school, give them opportunities, and he's like, give them job ready, let's get them out here. The combination of those are, it's when talent meets opportunity, great things happen. And I think that this is a great thing that happened. I'm just happy that it happened to me.
Thank you for that. Super humbling. We're gonna close out on Rayna. I'm bashful, and she made me do this thing. So Rayna, how do you reinvest, and what's something that you've accomplished that you're proud of?
I think when we talk about accomplishment, I never had this sense of accomplishment since I birthed my daughter. That little girl is less than 2 years old, and I am so proud of her already. She's given me such a sense of urgency in terms of motivation to challenge the status quo and to learn more about how I can better myself, it's an experience I've never had before. She's my greatest accomplishment, if you were to ask me what I'm actually proud of. But the other thing that I think I've been privileged to lead and to be a part of was co-founding Black Girls Math, right? I think you were there from the very beginning, where we founded this initiative and the network of like-minded professionals that we were able to get together. But not just that, but elevating the Black woman within GIS, within these geospatial fields, was one of the core motivations of BG Math, or Black Girls Math. And so being able to elevate Black women and to have a space where we can be dope, we can be ourselves, we can be authentic, we don't need a code switch, we can talk about sis, have you heard this and that. That's been an accomplishment for me, because our authentic selves doesn't take away from our professional bearing, right? I still bring a lot to the table, even though I don't talk like you, right? So that's something that I've been super proud of. And I think one way that I try to give back, I think number one, is education, right? Being able to mentor and to educate is something that I believe you can give back, because education is something, or mentorship is something that you can't really take away from people. So when we do our workshops, when we go out to some high schools and show them, hey, there's another Black girl within GIS that looks like you, that's in these types of spaces, you can do it too, is one thing that I think we are doing, and I believe we are doing to give back, is if they don't see you, I think Dr. D, you said it too, they don't see us they don't see us until they see us. And so using that mantra just to kind of make sure that we are sharing with these young girls that there's people that look like you within this space, and guess what? We actually need more of you, is one way that we believe we are giving back to the community. But the other thing about that too is I keep talking about AI and I keep talking about GeoAI being our future. I believe giving back will be making sure that our voices are represented in those training data sets, in those large language models, in all these algorithms that are being developed to craft our future. So that's another way that I think I can answer that question of how I'm giving back to the community, is making sure there's representation, there's accountability, and there's equitable outcomes that are coming up with, this futuristic artificial intelligence that's coming up.
Yeah, and man, you said it was futuristic. It's here. And we are grappling with it, and I so appreciate you for being in the midst of that work. And I'm excited to have introduced all of our navigators to our melanated mapping community, and I'm sure that you see, like I saw, that these folks are absolutely navigating success and equity in geo fields. So thank you all for coming. Thanks for your time. I want to bring up our next speaker, Matthew Uguani, sorry, and